Alrighty, I show at 4:30. Let's call this meeting to order, and Angie, could please call the roll.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner Bunting.
Present.
Commissioner Lumberman.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here. John, could you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless us with wisdom tonight as we consider the things on the agenda and help us to work in the best interests of the taxpayers of Gratiot County. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn. Okay, anybody have any changes to the agenda? Didn't hear about any.
The agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Bailey, a second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. We have an agenda. Brief public comment. I believe Sheriff, you're going to start it off.
So Deputy Turbine come and spoke to you about our K9 unit and come on up, Zach and Maverick. This is the newest member of our office in Maverick. I'll let Zach, if anybody has any questions for you. But this is what we bought with our grant money through Homeland Security, and I was explaining to him our car parts haven't come in yet, so he's in a crate in the car right now, but eventually we'll get the car changed over. And
So Sheriff, how old is he?
go ahead.
He's a year and a half Belgian Malinois,
Year and a half.
Yeah,
So
this-
how much schooling has he had so far?
his whole life,
Okay,
and then he's had a month with me.
okay.
So he come from Mexico, right?
Yep. He was born and bred in Mexico. Purebred Belgian Malinois. He came from, we trained up at Northern Michigan K9.
Yeah.
And
So what's he trained to do?
he is trained in narcotic detection, patrol work, which includes apprehension, tracking, article searches, locker searches, anything of that nature.
So you've had him just a little while. What would you think is his best skill?
I mean, really, all of him. He's a pretty quick learner. I think his best overall quality is he's a go-getter.
Yeah. He wants to work today is what we were just discussing over there. He wants to work.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. He was taught to work.
Yeah.
So tell him the languages you speak to him in.
English, Spanish, Dutch are what his commands are all through.
Okay.
So it's mostly English for all of it, and then he has specific commands in the other ones.
Hey, when you want to go beat
Can you get him to,
alive.
basically you just say sit right for sit?
Yep. Come here, man. Sit.
And then can you get him to lay down?
Down. You're cheating.
You're in town. There you go.
Good. Wait.
Good boy.
How many languages do you know that you can speak to them in?
All three of those.
All of those.
Yeah, all three of those. Yep, all three of them. They teach him that, so.
If you're ever sick and you need someone to take, I'd like to.
We have some.
Yep, so he wants to go work right now, so. So thank you very much, and yep, thanks. Zach and him were in training today, use of force training. That was something that we did department-wide, and so
You said his name is Maverick?
Yes.
Maverick.
Yep. K9 Maverick.
we had that picked through school kids. 4 kids actually picked that name in Fulton, Ashley, and Ithaca, the schools that we oversee. And so eventually we're going to get those 4 kids up here and we're going to get a picture with the dog and
That's wonderful.
Zach and the 4 kids that picked that name. So,
Okay, good.
Now, will you also take him into schools just to?
yep. He's on night shift, but we will orchestrate that maybe some on his training days where he can take him to the school.
So you go to work, it's like his time of day to get going here.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's sick of being in that crate. He says, I'm ready to go do something.
Yep.
I don't blame him.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
See you, bud.
Be safe.
We're looking forward to his first acquisition or something. First case.
Will he go to court with, like, say you have a court case?
No, he's not a, therapist. No, just me to work with that. If they had some type of case where they had to track somebody down again, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a little different because like we've got a therapy dog in Alma that they use and it's real good with the kids and stuff. Yeah. All righty. Any other public comment? Could you step to the podium? That's where the mic is.
Hi, my name is Andrew Bear. I'm a resident of Alma. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again tonight. As you may recall, I spoke at the last meeting in favor of Alma receiving some additional ARP dollars from the county. In terms of dollars per population, Alma has received far less than the other municipalities that made requests. I had noted that based on the 2019 populations, that Alma had received $55.70 per person. Ithaca has received 4 times as much per person, Breckenridge 7.5 times as much, Barrington 12 times as much, and Ashley over 21 times as much per resident. All the districts in the county have received substantially more ARP money than the district that I live in. Some districts, municipalities have received 4 times as much county ARP dollars as my district. Again, even if Alma were to have received the full $1.5 million they requested in their last request, that would still be less money per person than Ithaca, Breckenridge, Barrington, and Ashley have already been awarded. Coming into the last meeting, I was under the impression that the county commission had voted to hold a $1.5 million balance of ARP funds as a rainy day fund. However, later at the last meeting, 2 additional requests from municipalities came forward and the requests were approved at 100%. The $1.5 million reserve set at the previous meeting had certainly seemed to me as the main reason given at the time for not further funding Alma's request. I'm here to ask that this commission address the inequity in funding of Alma's request today. It appears the ARP funds are again on the agenda for discussion later in the meeting. When you discuss the remaining balance of $950,000, please make a proposal to at least bring Alma back to Commissioner Murphy's initial proposal. Commissioner Murphy proposed funding Alma with $693,000 in additional ARP funds beyond the initially awarded $226,000. This amount was cut in a proposal by Commissioner Smith to only $274,000. My request is that while ARP funds remain, one of you proposed that additional $419,000. This would retain over $500,000 in rainy day funds and would bring Alma back to at least the original proposed award from Commissioner Murphy. These dollars would be enormously helpful to my city to assist with critical lead pipe investigation in our parking lots. This amount would still be far less money per person. Several municipalities have already been awarded, but these dollars would mean so much to the city of Alma in these projects. Again, $419,000 in additional dollars is still significantly below an equitable share based on population. But as a citizen of Alma, I'd be enormously grateful for it and what it would mean to my city. Please make a motion for these additional dollars to go to Alma's request. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Anyone else? Matt, do you see anybody online?
No, I do not.
Okay, all righty. Then next we have the consent calendar. Anyone like to pull anything off there? Or we're looking for a motion on it.
Move the consent calendar.
A motion by Commissioner Bailey. We have a second. Support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Tracy, looks like you're up.
Tracy, you're
Mike.
There you go.
The question really is, how many years must we do Zoom before we are fully trained in video and audio? Anyway, thanks, everybody. Great to see you. I'm going to begin by telling you probably what you already know, and that is that we work pretty diligently on completing the projects that are on our capital improvements plan each year. to resolve other issues that come up over the course of the year and so forth. And we are really challenged this year because the cost of everything has not just increased, it's gone through the roof. And so some of the projects we had hoped to complete with ARP funds, we're going to strain to complete those with the available ARP funds. So the numbers that we'll be bringing you for projects going forward are just going to be out of sight. What I want to tell you now, though, is that we work these things and we do the very best we can to get you the best rates. We negotiate, we deny, we do all kinds of things. We're going to be coming back to you here, perhaps next meeting, and present you again the issue of the chiller, and we'll tell you the story. But in brief, the vendor that you approved decided he would just increase the amount of the project by over $8,000. This was after you had approved it and a variety of other factors. So we've just gotten that fellow to withdraw his bid, actually. So, and we're working with the second place bidder. We've gotten bids back on a very large project that we'll talk with you about in the future. It is an eye-popping number. Before we bring that to you, we're going back to the vendor and we're going to look at the project, look at the specs, look at the bid, and just see what we can do, what we can shave, how we can bring it down at all. So when we bring these things to you, please know that we've worked them pretty thoroughly. And still the numbers are going to be very big. So though we've got ARP money to chase some of these projects, so too do we have inflation and labor shortages that are placing a great deal of pressure on this. I had placed on the agenda, mostly just by way of FYI and communications, an email that Kurt Giles sent me. And I again had Angie place it in the packet, describing what's happened with the costs on his lead pipe projects there in St. Louis. And it's the same story. Everything's just shot through the roof and it's cutting down what everyone can do. So that's a lot of verbiage just to really begin to prepare you anew or prepare you in the context of county projects for what will be coming, and to make you aware that we don't just take costs and say, yeah, okay, and take it to the board. We work them as best we can, factoring in all that there is to factor in. So what are the projects? For example, an update on the health department project. I know a great deal of time has gone by and you've just not had updates on this. Well, it has been moving. It just moves quietly. The writing of the specifications, Spicer Engineering has helped us with that. We sent a bid package out. We got 2 bids that came back, one that was awful and the other that was worse. And this is one that we're going to be sitting down with the low bidder and doing some negotiating. And so that work will be completed before we bring it to you. Also in the area of procurement, but not quite as subject to these inflationary pressures. Those for professional services, consultations on, for example, the broadband project advisor. That doesn't involve materials, and so there is less inflationary pressure there. But you folks had approved our sending out a request for proposals for a project advisor for broadband, bringing broadband services to the county, or at least at looking at what we might need, what might be possible, and so forth. We received 3 proposals. We have begun the review of those 3 proposals, and the group that is looking at those are me, Casey Zahner from Greater Gratiot, because she knows so much about everything, but certainly broadband, and also Commissioners Lemmerman and Bailey are helping with that. We sat down for our first meeting last week. We'll sit down again. I've been asked to do a little bit of work and bring it back to the group. So we'll be sitting down. I'm guessing it will be next week. So look for that to come to you here soon. Sorry? Okay. Wind turbine litigation. The majority of the townships with DT that have DTE cases have approved the settlement agreement. I reviewed some of the terms of that with you last time. We are going to begin to turn our attention to consumers' energy, although there are a lot of details, I's to dot, T's to cross on the DTE agreement. But we're beginning to turn to consumers and trying to identify contacts there and to begin those discussions. So we're hoping that consumers will also step up in good faith to resolve these tax cases. And I don't have any reason to think they won't. The MREC Executive Board continues to meet every Friday morning where we talk about these various issues. So ARP, the first report from ARP fund recipients, which includes, of course, our townships, cities, villages, and the county, was due last Saturday, April 30th. By virtue of our outreach early on in the process, Chris has received a number of calls from folks asking for assistance, and he can tell you more about that if there's a greater story to tell. But I just wanted to report that because I'm just so pleased that those of us here in administration, that, you know, Matt, that folks would just be viewed as a resource. And you folks had encouraged us to get out there, hold meetings with folks in the townships. And so that outreach has really paid off and I think benefited everyone. It also speaks so well, as you know, of Chris's relationships with these folks and the confidence they have in him to be able to offer meaningful assistance. So really a great kudo for all of us, I think. Finally, the annual chamber dinner is back on this year after a 2-year hiatus, I think. This year it's cited at the Central Michigan Youth for Christ building in Alma. This is scheduled for actually this Thursday. And as chamber members, the county is entitled to 4 tickets. Sometime back, I had asked for those because you did have to contact them and specifically ask. I've done that in the past as usual. I did request those for you, and I've set those in there at Chuck's place. You can take the 4 and divide them among yourselves. I believe George already has his ticket. Perhaps others of you do, but there are 4 tickets, and I welcome you to divide among yourselves. If you all have tickets, I assume you'll offer one to Angie. But so that is what I have for you tonight.
Any questions for Tracy? Thank you. Commissioners' reports, John?
Later on in the meeting, we're going to talk about Parks and Rec. We have to, at the last Parks and Recreation meeting, they said, hey, what's going on? We approved 75,000. And we made a motion, I think a couple of weeks ago for 80,000. So we'll amend that. Really the only other thing I have to report is I'm going to be working with the treasurer and just kind of looking things over before the next meeting and before her presentation. And in speaking with her, she's really open to just sharing the original statements. And her comfort zone was such that I think what we'll do is we'll probably have copies of those statements in the mailboxes rather than have it on the agenda, so that we'll have paper copies at the next time. So I just basically want to work with her, whatever's comfortable for her.
There might be some procedural things we'll have to do with that. Anything that comes to ours is subject to Open Meetings Act, so.
Oh, it might have to be part of the agenda?
I would think it should be.
If you wanted to present those papers, it has to be in a public forum. It would not be proper for us to have those information and the public couldn't see them.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So might have to figure something else out. if she doesn't, and I understand what she's trying to do there is because there's certain things that are only privileged to the treasurer. I understand that, but there's got to be if you want to do it in an open forum, you got
It has to
to,
be transparent.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks, John. George?
Well, we had a Board of Health meeting. It's the first Board of Health meeting we've had in a couple of years that I felt the staff was quite relaxed. We had a good time. People laughed. The pandemic itself has gone to lower manageable levels and people aren't being hospitalized and things were going quite well. In fact, they're going to take the COVID things off the website. It's going that well in Grashan County. So they're moving forward, doing things like that. I attended on Friday, the Gratiot County Business and Industry Breakfast, which was in St. Louis. And it was very well attended. There was a lot of people there. But that was the first time in a couple of years they've been able to have that meeting. And what it does is it awards people for starting new businesses and awards other businesses for adding on and doing other things. And I was quite impressed with the city of St. Louis. Phil does a great job over there. They really have a lot of things going on, both in industry and business. And Elma had a lot, Ithaca had a lot. And I was very happy to see Breckenridge. They've been able to participate in the last couple of years and things went well there too. So I was just kind of well pleased to see all those folks around the county celebrating their businesses. So that was that.
All right, thanks, George. I was also at the health board meeting and they are going to shift from COVID and try to remind people of the other things they do because and try to get away from all the bad relations on COVID. And we met a bunch of new people that we'd hired and hadn't been able to meet. So it was a good meeting, I thought. Jan?
I had a meeting at Breckenridge. That was my only meeting since last time we met.
I was at North City, Fulton, and Newark. Basically, they're just talking about windmills and buying gravel for gravel roads.
All righty. We're moving on to new business. Sheriff Morris, looks like you're up again.
So you guys have your annual report in your packet, and I also provided everybody a copy of that. Not much out of the ordinary in the report this year. You'll notice a few things that are zeroed out now, and one of them that you probably looked at was on money to find it here real quick. It's has to do with the jail section in the back. Has to do with the it's here, gotta get to it. Illegal immigrants justice benefits. Last year we had $2,084. This year we had $0. This is called a SCAP grant. And this is a grant money that's paid to us for housing illegal immigrants. However, with ICE not being able to do anything with the illegals, we did not apply for the grant last year because it would have been a lot of work to get zero money. So that's from, we get reimbursed for housing them. We didn't have any last year, so we did not apply for the grant. Other than that, everything's pretty much online with where it's been years before. You'll notice in the money returned to the court, district court was about half as much, and that had to do with the criminal justice reform that come about in October 1st of 2020, where now that the courts are not requiring bonds on some crimes, and so we collected a lot less money for people to bond out. And now they are brought into our lobby and fingerprinted and released depending on what the crime is, if it's not real severe. So our daily count in the jail was up about 4 prisoners per day. inmates, I should say, prisoners. And shows how many we received and what our normal count was. It changed the law too, just recently, where we cannot house any 17-year-old kids in our, they used to be considered an adult at the age of 17. Now they have to be 18. So we cannot put anybody under the age of 18 in our jail now. So that's going to affect our population a little bit going down the road. As you see, going back to the road patrol, total accidents is up a little bit. Most of them are car deer. Last year was, last fall was crazy for car deer accidents, just absolutely crazy. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer for you.
So what do you do with the 17-year-olds, juvenile or?
Well, so we have some that were started out as a 17, considered an adult, and now they're in the court process and they're go back to the juvenile status. So they just go through the juvenile court, and if they have to be housed, they have to be housed in a juvenile facility now. And most of them are full. We actually took one today from our juvenile court over to Ottawa County, which is Holland, which is about a 2.5-hour trip one way. So, so I got a deputy tied up for 5 hours doing that today, but it's tough with the juveniles.
I noticed it isn't a big number, but smuggling, what were we smuggling?
So smuggling is trying to smuggle contraband into the jail.
Okay.
Yep. So that's what that is. And that happens, can happen in various ways, but generally, if we have workers outside or something, we get information that there might be something brought in. That's how we get that. So we don't get too many of them, but we have had a few in the last year.
How many women do you have in there right now?
Currently about 10.
Wow, that's a lot, isn't it?
Female population. We used to have a 4 cell block for the female population, and now we have to dedicate a whole 16 cell block to females.
Now, when you have that, like you have an area for the women, area for the men, do they still mix like for lunch or supper?
They're fed in their own areas.
Okay.
They're fed in their own areas. So we actually have about 4 areas for men and 1 for women.
Well, Sheriff, what do you see as for the biggest challenges coming up in the next couple of years?
Space in our jail. We've outgrown the sheriff's office. When that jail was built in 1975, nobody thought of computers. So there's very few plugins. And with everybody having a computer now and other things on their desk, we run a lot of power strip. So space and feasibility for the 21st century and beyond.
Well, I think that's something that we're going to have to address shortly.
Yeah, I see Isabella County had a proposal for their new jail and they had to withdraw it because it was so much higher than it was just a year and a half ago.
Hopefully when we get around to build it, the prices come back.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Yeah.
I see a big jump in suicide. I've heard that's a trend.
It's a trend and it's a sad trend. And I work with the Substance Abuse Coalition and the Suicide Prevention Coalition here in the county. I'm on both of those. And a lot had to do with pandemic still and people still not being able to get out and do things last year. Hopefully this year we haven't seen as many as we did. So that's a good thing.
Was the increase tend to be younger people, older people, or
it's all ages? I think we had them anywhere from late teens to almost 70.
Over 70, you're all right, son.
Sheriff, what's your biggest worry as far as a threat to the county, as far as a crime or suicide or whatever?
The biggest threat to this county right now is the illegal drugs, specifically methamphetamine. Drugs drive crime. In order for people to get their drugs, they're not generally the working class people that do that and go out and buy it with their paycheck. They have to get a means to buy it from the drug dealer. So drugs drive crime. And when we start getting, this is the time of year when we start getting businesses broken into and stuff like that to steal. And We know right where the product goes or the proceeds, if they sell things, go to, goes right to the drug dealer. Okay, any more questions?
Thank you, Sheriff.
No, thank you.
Thank you. We need to approve that report, Sheriff, or we're good?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, next. Gratiot County Commission on Aging, resolution on the countywide millage. In the packet here. This is to put it on the ballot. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Evening. Yes, as you see in your packet, we are seeking a millage renewal, Gratiot County Commission on Aging, and just requesting that it be put on the August 2nd, 2022 ballot.
This is normally just what we always do, isn't it?
Yes.
Nothing's changed.
Yes, I just came in case you had any questions.
Yeah.
Nothing's different.
Nothing's different.
I move it's placed on the ballot.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? All those in favor, do we need a motion or we can do it? Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay? Motion passed. Thank you.
Very much.
Next, we need a resolution on the library millage proposal.
We need to amend it to change the title to renewal. And then I think we had a Headley rollback issue. Instead of 0.5, we needed to advertise 0.44.
And the sheet distributed is the correct one.
Yeah. So this now reads, the language reads like the old one did.
Yes.
There's nothing changes to renewal. Correct. I make a motion that we accept the library language for the ballot.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay? Motion passed. So we have that. Next, Sheila, looks like you're up. Sheila, or Tracy, you're gonna handle it?
Playing the part of Sheila tonight will be Tracy Portis, her humble understudy. Sheila actually had the nerve to take a trip to Costa Rica.
Oh, my goodness.
So I intend to fire her when she returns. Don't worry.
As long as she brings sun and warm weather back, I'm.
Not doing much of a job of that. So, yeah. So anyway, I thought I would come into, so I'm going to pinch hit for her tonight. And I thought I'd come in for this discussion just because when we initially talked about this project, it did generate a little bit of discussion. And if that's the case again, I can hear a couple of you a little bit better here. So by way of background and reminder, it was November at your meeting, November 2nd of last year. Thank you, Angie, that you folks approved our soliciting a vendor to perform a classification and compensation study for our non-executive staff. Sheila was here with me. We talked with you a little bit about what these studies are, how long it had been since the county had had one, and so forth. We sent out a request for qualifications and we received 8 proposals, which we were very, very pleased about that response. And each of the 8 were very, very solid proposals. The proposals received, the vendors that sent those are listed on page 3 of the memo that Sheila placed in your meeting packets prior to her heading off to, where was that? Costa Rica. But needless to say, I was very pleased with that response from 8 very, very strong and experienced vendors. Sheila and I assembled a work group to review and evaluate the proposals. The group included Commissioner Bunting. Thank you, Jan, for agreeing to participate with us. Myself, Sheila, and then on the court side, Jennifer Wood, who perhaps will offer comment, and Charlie Perkins from the district court. And as a starting point, at our first meeting, the group identified, in addition to what was in the request for qualifications, we spent a moment identifying what was most important to each work group member. Now, for example, Jennifer Wood pointed out that, it's so important to us that we have a vendor that has experience with working with courts and classifying staff in courts. Very, very important to Jennifer. And of course, to Charlie as well. Also indicated were experience with public sector entities like ours, very important to us. Other values such as availability, started on the study, or is it going to take you a year before you can start, were deemed important. And of course, cost is always a factor, although in these kinds of evaluations, it's not dispositive. It's one of a number of factors that a group considers. Because some of you back in November at the initial discussion expressed interest in seeing all of the proposals, Sheila sent those out to you on April 8th, giving you a month to review those. She also included a cover memo in which she described our review process and in greater detail than what I am providing for you tonight. After the review and analysis, and I think we met over 2 or 3 meetings, I can't recall, but after the review and the analysis, the work group is recommending to you the selection of MGT to perform our study. In addition to checking all of the boxes regarding experience and availability, we're familiar with MGT here in Gratiot County because of other work they have done for us. Those projects are listed on page 2 of the memo that Sheila placed in your meeting packets. Sheila also checked the references for MGT and all spoke very highly of the work they've done. Also, Jennifer Wood reached out to some of her court counterparts about MGT, and all of those with whom she spoke also expressed a great deal of satisfaction with MGT. So we're asking you to approve our retaining MGT for a class comp study of our non-executive employees at the rate of $58,140. We're not asking that these be paid from ARP funds.
Can we listen to Jennifer?
Jennifer, are you, is there anything that you would offer and speak to the process or MGT?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. I'm just here to support our recommendation. I just want to emphasize that I think when we have waited 25, 30 years to do this study, it's just so critical that we get what we need from the vendor. And I know for a fact that MGT will be able to deliver to us what we need. We work with MGT currently. They supervise our contract through the friend of the court. And we've worked with them through juvenile. I've had several contacts with them over the years, and they're always able to deliver what we need. In addition to that, as Tracy had indicated, I've spoke to several court administrators in Michigan in similar counties to our size who have had comp studies done, and they were very pleased with MGT's delivery on that. And so I'm really here to support that today. I think that they can give us a study that we all can respect and can, deliver what we need, because it will be a long time before we invest in something like this again. So we need a product that will stand the test of time, essentially.
What does MGT stand for?
Do you have that, Jennifer? Managing government something, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Management something?
management government technologies, I would imagine. But that's just a
And
guess.
where are they out of?
I think they're national, but
They are.
yeah, they're national, but they have some local offices.
And then where is PayPoint out of HR?
And I didn't bring that information. Do you have that? Do you have the proposals in front of you or access to them? He's wondering where PayPoint is out of. Jennifer?
I don't. I just have the memo that was provided by Sheila.
I can provide you
If
this.
PayPoint was the second choice, they were out of another state as well. I do recall that. Our
Yeah,
top
that's
two
the-
choices were not
That was
local.
this, yeah, that was the second choice, yeah.
Yeah, that
New Jersey
ahead.
or Rochester or something like that. Yeah. Maryland.
And MGT was out of Florida?
No,
Yes.
they're
Oh, I
out of
thought
Florida.
I think so.
They have a local office, don't they, Jennifer? Because they we
Yes,
work
they
with local
do.
people.
Yeah, we work with an office out of Bay City for our friend of the court.
That's what I was thinking, the local office, yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Tracy, our last study like this was 2002.
That sounds right.
Would we expect that this would last us 20 years?
No, as we had presented, Sheila and I, when we were talking with you about class comp studies, the experts recommend that you have these things done every 3 years or so. It seems to be more like 7 to 10, what happens out there in the real world. I would suggest to you, however, that if this is done at certain intervals, you're not going to have the overall starting from scratch sort of work that we're going to have done now.
Especially the seemingly high cost is because they're actually starting from zero.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can liken it to a house. If you defer the maintenance, once you finally fix it, there's just going to be more work to do. We've been doing some of the repair work since, in the last few years because we're writing position descriptions when positions become vacant and we're updating them and so forth. But there's so much more to it, more than position descriptions.
PayPoint HR LLC is out of Maryland. Yep.
So my question is that we apparently somewhere along the road approved that we were going to do this and then we just had to hire somebody. Or was it we were just going to look in to see what the cost would be?
I would ask each of you to reflect on your memory. You had wanted to see each of the proposals. You had talked about wanting to interview the finalists. We did provide you each of the proposals, as I mentioned, on the 4th of April. We then surveyed, because of the work of the work group, we surveyed each of you and asked, do you want interviews? In light of what we've done and what we have here. And those of you that responded said, no, we don't need interviews. So certainly Sam, I remember you've been very reluctant about this, and I'm not dismissing that at all. I believe part of the discussion was, once you put vendors through this process and they develop this work, it's not great to not proceed with the project. However, you can do that. You can do that.
We do have this on tape. Is there a way that we can receive the moment that?
Or you could simply decide to review the whole concept. I mean, that's fine.
Can I just say one more thing? I just want you guys to understand how challenging it is for us to fill position. I'm not discounting the decision that you have to make, but it has become very challenging to fill positions and to keep positions filled in the court. And I'm sure the county's in the same situation. And this is just desperately needed. We have to find a way to have competitive pay and opportunities for staff in order to fill and keep people in our positions. So I just wanted to put that out there that, with the shortage of workers right now, it's just becoming increasingly more difficult to fill positions.
And this class comp study may not result in a finding that the pay for positions ought to be elevated. It might not result in that at all. But compensation is only a part of this. The other part of this is classification. And frankly, we don't have a classification system here. We have a long list of positions with some scoring that got done. But we've been trying in some of the positions we've been bringing to you to begin to create a classification system. Because what workplaces and their staffing configurations ought to look like is you have a group of classifications and classification titles. Like you have clerk 1, clerk 2. And then for each of those clerk 1, clerk 2, you have working titles. Like a clerk 1 might be district court, criminal court clerk sort of thing. But what we know is that the district court clerk, whatever the working title is, and a district and a circuit court clerk, whatever it is, may be in the same classification. So we know that they are being compensated at the same rate. Because we have like positions all over this building. When people think that we don't have like positions, but we do. And we're always guessing as to what we ought to pay these. So we have a lack of consistency in offices that are, as a matter of classification, doing the same sort of work regarding knowledge, skills, abilities, and so forth, being paid at different rates. So that when people come in and ask for a new position, we're not all going to have to just guess or use what is now an antiquated scoring tool to figure out what we think that a position ought to be, the rate of compensation.
I believe in my world of hiring funeral directors and things like that, it's an amazing how the spread is all over. We had, Sheila, I think we hired like an assistant prosecutor or something. And I think Keith come and said, this is the guy we need and we're going to have to bump this up and he's going to make more or whatever. Was an attorney or something we hired here maybe a year ago?
It was an assistant prosecuting an attorney. And the issue was not that this particular candidate wanted more, but the rate at which.
It's a rate to hire somebody in that rate, what that was the rate was going. So my question is that we pay $58,000 for a study and the rate says, just to use numbers, $100,000 for one of these people, but the going rate is 110. And I'm seeing that in my world. And so the going rate's 110. What do? You say this is what we pay, or we really need to get some people in here and the rate just went up to 110. I mean, I think it's the market will bear, when you're hiring these folks and maybe I'm wrong in this other part, but I just look at, I probably do more business in the clerk's office than anything. And I know there's 3 or 4 ladies there and they probably get paid on different things, but I think you pay on time. I think you pay on skills. And it's hard to classify somebody, I believe, that my job is this right here. And if this falls on the floor, that ain't my job. If my job fits in here and I get paid to do this, I don't get paid to do that. Or and I don't know everything they do in the clerk's office. I think probably ladies go to the courthouse probably make a little bit more than the ladies that give me death certificates. I'm sure that, I'm not sure. But anyway, I just think these studies, we can look around our counties and we can find the ranges that people get paid. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. I'm not a big fan of the study.
Sure. Prior to every union negotiation, union contract negotiation, we take that group and we get on the internet and we get on the phone and we try to find out what other like counties are paying. But that's not classification. That's compensation. And so, that's a bit of a problem. But let's take the piece of that, the who picks up the paper that dropped on the floor. Well, what we have in our system currently, I believe, is that we don't understand that there is a group of employees that performs work like that. They pick paper up off the floor. So we might have a paper picker upper, I'm not gonna be able to say that very often, working in one office that makes one rate and in another office making another. So we don't have a connection and an overall system. The other issue with these, I'll leave it at that. But
So what are we getting for the additional 23,000 over the 35,000 bid?
well, really, this is where you need to take those proposals and set them side by side. But in part, what we get is MGT has that very, very important court experience and courts in general. MGT, we also have a Gratiot County experience with them, having worked on other projects with them. As I recall, there's greater staff that they would have to apply to this. So those are the primary things. And again, I can go do a deep dive and do a deeper comparison of each of these proposals, if that will help you. But again, cost is but one factor.
What I wonder is this, you have an office and each one has their particular thing that they do. And all of a sudden, Sally is sick for a week. Does that mean that job doesn't get done? Or does the other 4 people kind of help divide those jobs up to get those jobs done so the office runs smoothly?
That's why we're very lucky to have some very skilled department heads and managers. And, they take care of those issues. Reallocating work, that is not a classification or compensation issue, however.
See, it seems like we could probably, I volunteer to go around to different counties just to kind of see what they do in their court system. What do they pay and who has what jobs and how do they take care of it? I would think if you spend a day with each, like someone like Shiawassee County, maybe Montcalm County, just to, maybe not so much to see the money part of it, but to see how they do classify different jobs.
Well, they don't. Either they just don't do it at all, and they're in the same position that Gratiot County is in, or they have a vendor do it with some expertise. And Jan, because you participated in this work group, and I know that you read all of the proposals, and you saw the factors that go into this. It's not watching somebody work for a day. There's scoring that's done. There's a job questionnaire that was done, and you saw that in some of those proposals. So you make this as objective as you can, but you base it on the same factors. So if you go and just sit with someone for a day and then this someone for a day and this person for a day, you're probably not evaluating the same factors. And you really haven't gotten the information you need for doing that. And that's not to say there are some times in these studies, people actually do desk studies. But the trend in the sort of work that I've seen in recent years has people distributing these job questionnaires. There were samples in a couple of proposals that you saw, not all of you, because these were distributed too.
I don't know, it seems like one of the things that I have thought about is in the last few years, it seems like we're constantly doing studies or trying to fix one department over another department, giving more raises or more, a title or, it just doesn't seem like, I don't know, maybe they are, but it seems like nobody's happy with what they're getting paid. But yeah, I think we pay pretty good in the county considering what a lot of people are getting paid.
What you described, Jan, is the very reason to do a classification and compensation study, because you're talking about requests just kind of coming in, this and that. And in terms of people being happy with what they're paid, I don't know. That's another survey.
Yeah. I think that maybe we do need a study, but maybe we can do it ourselves is what I'm thinking. The $58,000 when you look around our county and you see all the people that need money to fix, like the fire department or like Elma or like St. Louis has got a problem right now. There are so many different parts of our county that are, in serious trouble and trying to get things fixed. And that's been an issue the last few meetings that I've sat into, that we have money to do a study, but we don't have money to fix or to give to our fire department or to give to Elma or maybe give to St. Louis. They're also in here for more money. And there's also a lot of the townships that haven't even had a chance to come and ask for some money. Not sure how to do it, or I'm not sure why they haven't come in yet. So that's where my concern's about. And as I'm out and about, I have a lot of people stopping me and asking me, you know, why can't you give us some money? You're giving money to other people. And a good example is Alma, like you said, we've been able to give a lot of money out. But again, I mentioned this every single time I'm in this meeting, that we had wind turbine money that has come in for how many years now? And we've not put one penny of that back into our community. We've used it to put back into the courthouse and things that connected to the courthouse. And so.
But we know that isn't correct. So we just know that isn't correct. You've reported on that over.
What part of the
money gets distributed to schools and to townships and so forth. But again, I'm not suggesting that ARP money be used for this. But, and it is important that money be shared with the community. And I think this board's done a great job. I certainly am out in the community also and wanting in my role to help people. But I think for this county and this board to have some credibility, they want to see that you're running a business. And so that's an additional factor for you. But you know, we know that that's not correct. So,
well, give me some examples. What money as a wind turbine have we put back into the community? I've been up here every meeting and I don't know of any wind turbine.
Every year, we put almost $2 million back into the general fund, and it's spent every year.
Yeah. Back
Make a
into
general fund budget.
But not into the community. What money have you given to Alma or St. Louis or?
the sheet, it's somewhat dated, but there's a sheet right behind you and you've seen it. A Greater Gratiot has given it to you and I don't need to engage with you anymore, but it's just
taxes that automatically go to those places.
Those are wind turbine funds.
That's right.
That's right.
To the school.
Yes.
We'll use.
That's wind turbine money.
Yep.
Okay.
Back
enough.
And to each one of the municipalities that have the wind turbines.
Good, good. Okay, we're clear on that then.
Jennifer, are you concerned that you're not going to get for the court what you need on the lower bid? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
You know, I just don't know. I mean, the second choice did have some good, they did make a good proposal and I would rather see you go forward with that one than not at all. But I just think we've waited such a long time that I know MGT can deliver what we need. And not doing one at all just puts us in a situation where we're going to have to come, position by position if we can't fill the positions and ask on a case-by-case basis, which I think is what led us to having these proposals submitted in the first place. It is, it's a concern. I have an example. I just filled my friend of the court clerk position in December. It had been open for 2 months, I think, and she was offered a better job that we couldn't even come close to competing with, 4 months later. So now we just spent 4 months training her and she did a fantastic job. I mean, I can see why someone else grabbed her up, but it's just a challenging situation, as you all know. I mean, I really don't think that this will, I'm not thinking that we're going to get a study that's everybody's going to get a raise. But I do think it's so outdated at this point. And as Tracy had indicated, there's not a lot of consistency because it's been done piecemeal for so long that those are the concerns. And it's getting, we have to have people who are qualified and can do the job that needs to be done. And I think that this is the first step in moving in that direction to continue to have good employees and, get what we need and have the people in place to do what needs to be done.
Jennifer, when you hired this gal to do the work and she got a better offer, I don't remember you coming back to ask us if we would increase her pay.
We wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been, we can't compare to what they offered her. It just wasn't an option. So I don't want to do that. I'd rather, we have a position, this is what it pays and this is what we have available. And I am very hesitant to come to the board on a case-by-case basis and try to get somebody to stay by offering more money, because then all of a sudden you have other people who all of a sudden have offers and are going to try to move on and want more money. So that's just not how I usually conduct business, Jan, if I can help it. So that just wasn't a possibility in this particular case.
Yeah.
When they,
If I could real quick, I appreciate your answer, Jennifer. That helps me.
another
you.
question I have for you too, Jennifer, is like, you can do a case study, but for instance, I'm just going to give you an example. Like say Mount Pleasant brings in a tax revenue, 100 million or $100 billion. And we only bring in, say, $40 billion. That would also be a factor of trying to hire somebody, because obviously they could pay more, have a bigger community than what we do. They also bring in more money than what we do. So is this part of a factor too, to you? Like when someone, when
Sure,
you
yeah,
hire
I mean, I
someone
think
here, when you hire
Commissioner
somebody,
Smith's position too, you know, his question is to whether we then pay the $110,000. I think Gratiot will always pay a little less than some of the surrounding counties. And frankly, I think that's okay, because there are, you know, some people want to live in the community where they work. And they, you know, there are other factors. You guys have been very good as far as fringe benefits. And so that's something we have to offer our employees. So there are other benefits to working in Gratiot County than just top pay. But I just think it's gotten so behind from 20 years, excuse me, that it's just time to look at it and try to get us back into a situation where we can at least have a competitive wage. If not, I mean, certainly not going to be the top wage.
And these studies, they don't compare us, say, to a Kent County. There's an adjustment for that.
Can I have a question? I'm looking at the MGT at 58,140. And then you rated, or the committee rated the second one at Pay Point HR at 35. Well, overall, that's the lowest bid.
Mhm.
But you rated them higher
Higher than,
than everybody else except for MGT.
because cost was but one factor in all of this.
Yes.
Mhm, mhm,
Exactly.
mhm.
So
The MGT falls, you know, right about in the middle. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest. It's where there are 3 or 4 that are higher than MGT.
I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the committee's recommendation and hire MGT to do the study.
or
Motion by Commissioner Lemmerman, second by Commissioner Bailey, that we hire the MGT firm. Any more discussion?
rest of roll call.
Any more discussion?
The only other discussion I have is, I seem to recall that last year we were recharacterizing positions time after time after time. And I believe we even asked for a committee to conduct this study because our old criteria, our criteria was so old. So I think we should just, you know, trust the people that we handed this decision off to.
I guess I believe what you say. We wanted to talk about what the cost of a study would be. But I didn't know where we approved it that we were going to do it. And by just saying, because we hired people to look at it, what it would take here, we have to do this. I think that's 2 issues.
Yeah, I guess where I'm at is I'm not really
I don't feel,
in the 23,000 additional.
I guess it's not even the money. I just look at the study and think, because we asked somebody to kind of give us a price on something and bid something for us to paint this room, and we decide not to paint it, that guy might not come back next time. Well, if he's a painter and he wants to paint and he lives here, he'll come back next time we decide to paint it. But I don't know where we went from. Okay, let's look at the study and see what the cost will be to, we're going to do it. But made a motion, and that's fine.
So we ready to vote? You can call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
No,
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Murphy.
No, motion fails.
We will continue to bring you ideas and proposals over time to help deal with kind of the inconsistencies that have been concerned. So we'll continue to try to address this problem, but we're hearing you loud and clear that we need to do that in another way. So thank you for what I think was a very thoughtful discussion. And we certainly know you gave it a good thing. So thank you very much.
One of the things I would like to mention, Tracy, is that I wouldn't mind getting in my car and touring around to the different counties.
None of us are qualified to do that. None of us are qualified.
It would be a bit like me saying, Jan, I'm going to go out and build a bridge for us, because I'm not qualified to do that. There's a technique and an expertise, and, people, they go to school and they work under other people to learn this. So you can certainly do that. But none of us are qualified to do a study, which is why we seek an expert and vendor to do that. So thank you.
Okay, so we're ready to move on. Okay, we have some vacancies. The library board. Angie, you want to fill us in here?
Yes, that was my fault. I missed that there were actually 3 positions that were available from last meeting. Kathy Wilton has moved out of our county. So we still have the 2, Maureen Murphy and Maris. But Maris did express that if it was up to her or Maureen, she would like you to appoint to the library board. So that's just a comment that I had from her.
So moving.
So a motion by Commissioner Bailey to appoint Maureen Murphy, no relation.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Real quick, Angie, you have anything for, the other, is there a place that we need?
Yeah, she just did it because she didn't want it to be vacant. So she's busy as it is. So that's why she said that she'd like Maureen to take over, because I guess Maureen has retired. And so
I
yeah.
guess I'm just saying if people want to volunteer, we should probably use some place.
Find it
And try to
somewhere.
get 'em, because we do have 2 commission on aging that I've been trying to rack my brain around to get filled.
Maybe talk to her about it.
It might not be the right district. I think I need 1 and 4.
That's looking at you.
I'll have to see what is 4 newer. I could check. I'll check. So the next one is jury board. Mary Lee Mall has been on my jury board for 6 years. She does a really good job and she'd like to continue, but her term was expired. So, yeah.
I'll second.
So a motion to reappoint. Been moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed.
And then I was waiting for some applications on the integrated health. And so if we could make this retroactive back to April 1st. And I did advertise in the paper. I did not receive any other interest other than the people who are already on the board, which is Dan, Cheryl, and Tina. And then we also need to motion for George to be on his 3-year term because his expired on the 31st of March.
We accomplished that in one motion.
I do have it separated, but if you want one, that's up to you.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Lemmerman. We have a second. Support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed. So, rescue plan issues, or do we have more, or is that it?
No, that's it.
We have a letter from the city of St. Louis.
This is really not a request of the board for additional funding this evening. Kurt was just really providing an update on the use of the funds. Also, to the extent that the increased project costs are not going to allow him to use the funds in all of the ways that he had represented to the board. He wanted you to have that information. And his comment about, if you find extra funding laying around, we could use it. Of course, Kurt understands that, number one, there doesn't tend to be a lot of money laying around. Two, we're all in that position. So I think that if, again, this was really just an update and informational for us. If Kurt does want to come back to this board, number one, he'll write you a memo. He'll specify a certain amount of the ask, and he will appear to present the issue. So that was informational. Just wanted you folks to be aware of that. It's kind of also in the nature of a report.
There must be an awful lot of water projects being bid out there. That kind of increase.
To the state of Michigan.
Yeah. So I think the state of Michigan needs to step up on the lead pipe issue.
Well, they did. It's $4.9 billion, but city's got to go get a loan. Yeah.
Not good.
We need
to
education and
Get
land.
a hold of our people. Yeah.
Ridiculous down there.
Okay, next. ARP project clarification. What is that? Okay, from
I have
Chris.
there's a couple projects that have been approved that have deviated from the initial requests. And once the board approves a project or a certain dollar amount, that's actually just the beginning of the work that is to be done. It's not the end of it. We draw up contracts, we track the expenditures, report those expenditures to the federal government. And in order for us to do that, I need to have a few more details on some of the projects that have been approved. The first one is related to the amount of money that was for the Fire Chiefs Association, where they originally requested $1.2 million or $200,000 to each station, but the board approved $459,846. And when that money was approved for them, there was not an allocation method that went along with this amendment. So I'm asking the board in this particular case, do they want to split the $459,846 evenly between the stations as in laid out in the original proposal?
Chris, is that what the departments are communicating to us?
That is what you would prefer, right, Bill?
Yes, sir. That is what we were asking originally, was the amount that's provided to the fire departments to be divided over 6.
Okay.
Equal amounts to each fire department.
Is there still 6, or is Parrington the Ithaca one?
So they're not combined yet. The combination doesn't start until July 1st. I see. So as of today, they're still 6. Yes, sir.
My understanding, that's what it was.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Thoughts about review.
That was,
More of that one less.
I think that was even kind of indicated by the fire departments, and because they wanted all the fire departments to share equal.
How do you do it, Chris? Is that a motion, or what is that?
We probably want a motion.
Action.
Clarify.
Down at the bottom, it says action required, motion to provide.
Okay.
I move that we split it the way it's outlined in this memo.
Evenly 6 ways.
Okay, I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Lemmerman, second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? All right, and the clerk informs me we should do roll call, so let's proceed.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey, Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed.
The second project clarification that I would like to present to you is the second request that came from the city of Elma. They requested $1.55 million for 2 projects, lead pipe replacement and parking lot rehab. The board approved $274,000. I would like to know if the board would like to dictate which project that goes towards. The $274,000 is not enough to complete either of those requests from the city of Elma. For contract purposes and monitoring purpose, I would like to know if you would like that to go to lead pipes, parking lots, or let the city of Elma choose.
Well, Eric's sitting right here.
What's best for you, Eric?
Well, we do have more options when it comes to water, because obviously we can go through our water fund and the fees, things that we've been discussing with the city commission.
Okay.
But if there's a percentage you want to provide for us, we would appreciate it if we could work with our board to allocate it where it would be most helpful.
So,
we're waiting for instructions?
well, no, our second choice is let the city of Elma choose.
Okay.
Chris, that's
Yeah.
accounting problems for you.
So it would not have a project assigned to it yet?
That sounds right.
Okay, I would have no way to monitor what they spend it on. I would need to know what the project is before we would initiate the contract.
Well, we aren't gonna send them any money till we get that, right?
Okay,
So I guess it would be feasible then for the city of Elma to contact you and tell them how they would like to spend the money.
yes, it would. And you're saying you would not want to be notified beforehand?
As far as I'm concerned, that money's gone. You have to administer. We're not sitting here to administer money.
Okay, I mean, I'm just
To
saying,
make sure we don't get in trouble.
right.
It's done right.
Well, the thing is the restrictions are lifted. So if they wanted to spend the money to bring a circus to town, that would be allowable. And
I
that's
see what
kind
you're-
of why I'm
okay.
putting project
We gotta
descriptions.
make everybody
in these
honest here.
contracts.
We would obviously put the money toward one of those two projects or split it some way between those two projects that we present.
Would you be able to notify Chris on what you've done with that money? I mean, if you put $100,000 in this project and 174, whatever it's the other one. You get a notification of that, or
Yes.
is there any way you could sit down and say, this is what we want to do, this is how we want,
Yes.
you give it to Chris and say, just for our reporting?
Yes, we can do that.
Just raise your right hand and swear you're not going to bring a circus to town.
We're not nervous.
We won't say you said that either.
Chris?
Can hear you.
I think
Didn't
it's-
hear you.
I apologize. I have a hard time picking up what Eric says over the microphone.
He was talking about, they would tell you what they're gonna spend the funds on, they would send you a note on it or whatever. They're gonna use between those two projects.
Between those two projects, very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
They would send you a note on how much they're spending here and how much they're spending there.
Okay,
Or whatever.
well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
They said no circuses are coming.
Chris, would you like a motion that the city of Elma can choose between those two projects for that amount of money?
Well, I don't think that would be necessary because that was the original proposal, was those two projects.
We would, however, need that to be clearly reflected in the minutes, that was the discussion.
So without objection, we're gonna move forward with that. That City of Alma's gonna notify Chris.
Okay.
How much they spend on each project, whatever.
Very good. Thank you. That is all that I had for you.
All right.
Chris, while you're there, I guess I would like at the next meeting, and I don't think this needs a motion, but we have the list of all the ARP approved projects. Could you bring us back a list of what we didn't approve? And so that we can look at that, consider that, and also talk at the last meeting, I think we had 1.8 million potential from the county. And just so we can look at all of those things and, think about what we've got to do, with what we've got left.
I don't think we have that much left. I think we only have about
9 something.
I realize we only have, but to,
No, John, to kind of what you're thinking about, I was thinking that maybe we ought to just say somehow that we aren't going to fund any outside projects, everything else. I thought we had about 1.3 million that we need to do here. We got about 900.
right.
I'm just thinking that money needs to be here.
Why don't you make a motion? Why don't you make a motion and I'll support it?
Well, I think we ought to do that, and I think that we ought to, then we'll go through and say, we'll go through our list of projects in the county.
And if we have any,
Use the rest of those funds for that.
Can we-
We're not gonna get it all done.
Can we look at all this at one time? Like,
Well, I just think, we got a children's park or something, or we got some big cooler or something probably.
and that price on that just went up again.
Yeah, so I just think we just need to keep that money in-house. Take care of our projects, then we'll decide them along.
Well, we don't have to agree to it or make a motion to do it, because if we don't make a motion to do it, sometimes things get.
Yep. I would make a motion that we keep using the funds. I'm not sure what the number is, but anything that's not funded, we're gonna need more funding, I guess.
I'll support that.
I guess the reason I say we should wait, it's like the $58,000 we're gonna spend for a study. Now we got $58,000 that we can use for some of our projects that we've got out there.
No, because the 58,000 is coming out of the general fund.
We got millions, from 1.8 million to 1.2 million, we gotta get done, and we got 900 some thousand plus 58.
Yeah.
So, we put that money in
Yeah.
county projects or whatever.
Yeah.
Call the question.
All right, we have a motion, what was it? Sam's motion? A motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? I'd like to roll call vote on this.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
No. Motion passes. All right, let's see. That was the clarification Parks and Rec request. Is this to amend what we did before or is this new?
Yeah, amended.
So you want to handle it?
Can you explain what happened?
Yeah,
Because I don't know, I'm lost in the dark
the
here.
original request, that Ithaca needed, the total project was gonna be 150,000.
Mhm.
And they said that they could fund half. They could do a matching. And originally Parks and Rec had 80,000 to distribute, but they only voted to approve 75. And I wasn't at the meeting where they approved the 75. But on their paperwork, there was nothing that said the award. And I went back and looked at the tape of that, because I figured I made the motion.
Yeah.
And I think I did not make the motion, but I think I had told you we got 80,000. I assumed it.
Yeah.
So that's how we got.
Okay.
That's how we got the.
Okay.
They're still gonna be fun.
Well, they're not gonna, it's gonna do it. They were just,
I talked
I've lost, yeah.
to Larry Ringo and.
Yeah.
And he understood.
okay, good. I heard it when I was cleaning chairs Saturday at the senior center.
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on?
So you're making a motion to correct the previous motion.
Have to resend
Or
it.
we have to rescind the motion? Who made the motion back? They need to request. a rescind.
So probably we get by with just making a motion to.
I don't
Correct.
think anybody here objects, so.
Well, okay, without objection, we're gonna move forward to amend the previous motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Second.
I,
Oh. John, we do need a second.
Oh, I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion corrected.
All right.
All right, additional public comment. Wish to address the board.
Need to ask if anybody wants tickets.
Oh, yeah, okay. Anyone online, Matt, you could see?
Nope, nobody else is connected in right now.
Okay, all right. Then we do have two more tickets to the Chamber of Commerce celebration here.
Already bought mine. We should have waited.
No, can't make it. I took one, you took
Did you already
one.
pay for it, George?
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want a ticket?
No, I hate to take it and not be able to go.
Sheriff Morris, would you like one?
What is it?
It is this Thursday at 6 o'clock, social hour at Youth for Christ on Cheeseman.
I'll give you an answer.
Okay,
So
well,
there's Angie too.
Angie, you okay. Anything further? And without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.